What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. I was getting ready to have like a 38-minute rant about everything wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles, but then they just decided in the fourth quarter, really the second half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and then in overtime, to just, play like a fringe playoff team. Like that. I'm gonna give them that. I'm not gonna say they're gonna play like a playoff team. They're gonna play up to their talent because they are a now 6-7 team. They are very much every bit of that 6-7 record. But they win 23-17 in overtime over the New York Giants. And that rant, the epic C445 rant, gets put on hold for another week. Then again, we got Washington next week. So, I mean, there could be, when we thought this Philadelphia Eagles team was good, we played Washington week one. Everyone, optimism that at worst, Philadelphia would be front runners to win the NFC East. And Washington came out in that game and owned us for the first half, and then finally Deshaun Jackson and CaRsOn WeNtZ took off in the second half. But, I mean, that's got to be a real tough game. And if you really have any aspirations of doing anything in the playoffs, you look at, Miami, New York, Washington. Those can't be tough games. Those have to be gimme games. So, I mean, it's another week that my finger was on that red button, hovering around that red button to go off in this video. I was already I was on my phone, wasn't even paying attention to the game. I was just writing down a player's name and telling you the cold hard truth about them. And that's probably still got to happen at the end of season review, because if Philadelphia plays like this, for as bad as the Dallas Cowboys are, Dallas can still move the ball. Dak Prescott can still throw for 300 yards because, you got Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper out there. And it's just not going to cut it. But we survived for another week. And let's get some grades out and then a final thought. So, CaRsOn WeNtZ with 33 of 50, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns. First off, we came to this game with 3 wide receivers, which is a problem within itself. Why do you only have 3 wide receivers? It's ridiculous. You have Davis on the practice squad, who's like a freak. Great jumper, has legit low 4.4 speed. He can't make the roster, but you go in the game with 3 wide receivers. Alshon probably done for the year. Then you had CaRsOn got banged up near the end in the final game of the stretch in overtime. Why are you going in the game with 3 wide receivers? And why are you in a game with 3 not great wide receivers and throwing the ball 50 times? Why is this your game plan? That's a problem in itself, but CaRsOn WeNtZ was good today. CaRsOn WeNtZ, I'm giving him A-, probably. It wasn't a perfect game. Had a couple plays that he probably would want back. I never understand. He's a guy that, if he has a fumble, when he recovers behind the line of scrimmage, he never just throws it away. He always tries to make something happen. If he just threw it away, we wouldn't even remember that something bad happened. Live to fight another day. It's just, I hate the fact that he, if there's a fumble, we saw a missed snap where Jason Kelce sailed it over his head, just pick it up and fucking bomb it. Just throw it out of bounds. Throw it over a wide receiver's head. But no, he always just tries to dance still with it and gets sacked, and it makes it second and a mile. That's something that I definitely think he needs to clean up. But CaRsOn WeNtZ played well today, and down that stretch and overtime, I mean, he was unreal. He was absolutely unreal. Greg Ward had for whatever. Greg Ward is a converted wide receiver. He used to play quarterback. Was at one time almost a little bit of a Heisman list, top 10 list for Houston. So if he has a drop, given the fact that this is really his first 3-4 game stretch with the team, I'm not going to pass anyone on this Eagles team because drops are so bad. But I'm not going to say, oh, Greg Ward's the next Nelson Aguilar. His one drop, he made a bunch of other plays before that, but still it was a drop in the end zone. And then CaRsOn WeNtZ had another play that technically would have been a tough catch, but CaRsOn debatably was in the end zone. It was a weird challenge by Philadelphia on a pass interference, but CaRsOn had a chance to make a play and he still dropped it. So WeNtZ technically could have had 400 yards, 4 touchdowns kind of deal. And I'm not gonna really go down that avenue because let's just focus on what he actually did. And he led this team with for most of the game with 2 wide receivers to a victory where he threw it 50 times and made some plays. So I'm giving him an A-. The running attack: Boston Scott, 10 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, 15 carries, 45 yards. Jay is washed, let's be completely honest. But Boston Scott just pretty much solidified himself on the roster next year. If you really follow the Eagles, he's kind of been grooming a little bit to be the Darren Sproles guy. We brought him off the practice squad from the New Orleans Saints. He looked good in flashes before. I never had a bad word to say about him, but I think he solidified himself in that 53 for next year. And I think a Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard backfield, you get the power of Jordan Howard, you get the well-rounded explosiveness from Sanders, and Boston Scott can just be that little gadget guy, that guy in case there's injury, because Philadelphia, we always have injuries. I think he can come in and do a job. So I definitely think Boston Scott, he's very impressive. The running backs today between him and Sanders, I'll give him A- as well. I mean, ultimately, Miles Sanders should have ended the game in overtime. He got the ball right. Miles Sanders broke through there on like the 25 or something like that. And rather than just bumping it to the outside, going to the sidelines and running for the end zone, he just literally straight up just runs in as hard as he possibly can into the wide receiver, Greg Ward, who's blocking the outside corner. Like, the corner was already engaged. There was that free lane on the outside. And rather, like, he literally looked like he wanted to truck Greg Ward and hurt our last healthy wide receiver. I would have given them an A+ if it wasn't for that. That was so bad. Rookie mistake. But Boston Scott and Miles Sanders, very impressive on the day. And hey, this game, the overtime, that last stretch, looked like exactly the game plan we utilized to beat the Green Bay Packers earlier. We just ran the ball down their throats. And, even though it looks like, with CaRsOn WeNtZ throwing 50 times, we didn't run the ball well, but we committed to the run. I would say, really, the last, if there's the last 30 plays that were successful, probably 16, 17, 18, well over 50%, probably 60% of those final plays down the stretch were really started turning up. They were running the ball, and they ran it with a lot of effectiveness. Zach Ertz for the receiving, 9 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty much, I was gonna set the all-time wins record in my in real life fantasy league, and I was going up against the Taco, and we were pretty much tied. And I had the Eagles defense, he had Zach Ertz, so it tagged my fantasy team, but Zach Ertz finally had a pretty good game. He still had like a drop or two, man. I don't know. I mean, maybe we could chalk it up to I want to say we could chalk it up to the weather. It was not a ideal weather game. There's a lot of rain, but I mean, Zach Ertz, that was his number one thing, was that he's reliable for catching the ball. He had great hands, and still it seems like he's having a drop a game minimum. But still, I'm not going to dog a guy that had 9 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Boston Scott, 6 catches, 69 yards. Philly Goddard, 3 catches, 40 yards. Josh Perkins, 5 catches, 37 yards. Greg Ward, 4 catches, 34 yards. Arthega Whiteside, 2 catches, 29 yards. Actually had a really nice over-the-shoulder catch. And, he kind of, it's still just ridiculous that Philadelphia's in a wide receiver crisis. We went into this game with 3 wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey went down early, right? And then still, Arthega Whiteside, that second-round pick, only got 2 catches the whole game. Greg Ward and Josh Perkins, who just got activated, 9 catches between them. Only 2 for Arthega Whiteside. What's going on there? What is that disconnect? Like, that has to be answered for. You know what I'm saying? That has to be absolutely answered for. But, I mean, the receivers, I'll give the receivers, because there was barely any of them, but still there were some drops and stuff like that. The receivers are getting a D. The tight ends will get an A. And the running backs out the backfield, again, I'll give them an A. I'm going to up it to an A just because of how good Boston Scott was. And I'm definitely, he showed a lot of flashes as a return. Had some pretty good returns. Feels like every time he returned it, he's bringing up to the 30. He looked good in the preseason. And there you go, man. Over 100 yards today, total from scrimmage. It's great. Exactly what we needed. Special team, man, Jake Elliott, as soon as he got that contract, made him like a top 5 kicker. He's missed 2 kicks in back-to-back weeks. Very annoying. We need Jason Peters to take him aside and threaten to beat him up again so he doesn't miss that. Cam Johnson, we're going to show some love. Cam Johnson's probably been like our most consistent player throughout this whole season. He's been a really, really solid punter. Special teams, though, on the day, we'll give him C because of the missed kick. Defense. So, I mean, it's a tale of two games. Really, the first half was almost like a game where the Giants just ran away with it, and the defense was horrendous. And, in the second stretch, still, the defense wasn't great. I don't know. I just feel like the defense was playing enough to win the game. So, I'm going to give the defense a C as a whole. Like, where's Fletcher Cox? Where's Brandon Graham? That was going to be my big rant. Derek, I'm not going to talk about Derek Burnett. He wasn't playing. But, you kind of look at the overall scope of Brandon Graham's season. So he's like 7.5 sacks. Like, oh my God, he's doing it. But he got like half of those against the Jets. He's been ghosting. Fletcher Cox has been ghosting. I mean, you can look across the way. It's always been Fletcher Cox for me as an Eagle fan. And then you look at, obviously, the top dog's been Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald's having a down year too. But, I mean, at least Aaron Donald still will have a down year and then get a sack and a half. And then, actually a couple games that he doesn't do anything and then he'll get 2 sacks. At least he's still getting those periodically dominant games. But you're not really seeing that with Fletcher Cox this year. I know he was banged up to start the year, but ultimately not really good. Vinny Curry had 2 sacks. I mean, obviously, Darby was horrific. I think you have to bench him. You have to bench Ronald Darby. Put out Rasul Douglas. Give Sidney Jones another chance. Sidney Jones actually had a huge pass breakup on 3rd down. But Darby got to go, man. He got torched by a rookie wide receiver, Darius Slayton, who I actually loved that pick when the Giants made that pick. When I did the review, where I reviewed every team's best and worst pick, I said Darius Slayton was the best pick for the New York Giants. and he absolutely tore. What did he have? 100-some yards against the Philadelphia Eagles? 5 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. That is so bad. Like, Scary Terry's going to have a day next week when the Eagles and the Redskins play. So, I mean, there were some positives on the defense, some negatives for sure. Actually, really the only positives was Vinny Curry had 2 sacks, and that was pretty much it. So, yeah, defense gets I'm giving them a C-. We're downgrading that to a C-. But ultimately, somehow, some way, the Philadelphia Eagles won this game. It's good for the Giants. A win does them no good. Right now, they're still in prime position to get Chase Young in the draft. So I think both fan bases are generally happy. I mean, there's going to be that cynical segment of the Eagle fans that's like, oh, great, they won the game, so no changes are going to happen. Because if Philly lost this game to the Giants, I mean, their season's probably done, and maybe they actually look at canning some of these coaches, firing Mike Groh, maybe moving on from Jim Schwartz, making stuff like that. But now it's just another week. It's probably going to be a unnecessarily difficult game against the Washington Redskins next week that we're probably going to win and go to 500. But, yeah, man, I was so ready. Like, that halftime, I was like, oh, boy, should I go downstairs and start recording this all-time CFOFO 5 rant where I literally would go player by player and tell you why they suck. And they found a way to come back and beat a bad Giants team 23-17. So let me know what you guys feel about this game. I really thought this video was going to take a very different turn at halftime, but Philadelphia is still alive. I mean, honestly, the way I suggest you think about it, the way that I'm thinking about it is like, if we make the playoffs, is there, what happens if Philadelphia ultimately makes the playoffs? Let's finish the video with this. Let's just think about it. So if Philadelphia makes the playoffs, Dallas gets what they want because Garrett's going to be gone. Every other team in the NFC, probably Washington's in that purgatory. They don't really have a great pick. But, I mean, Giants are going to be happy. They're going to get Chase Young. Dallas fans are going to be happy because they're going to get rid of Jason Garrett. Maybe they won't be super happy because they probably will pay Dak Prescott. And then you look at the Eagles. Like, they make the playoffs. That's an excuse to keep this staff around. It's like, well, yet again, we battled and persevered and squeaked in. But I'm harsh against Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson is a spineless head coach right now. But I don't think there's any way, even if we win a playoff game, say if we beat, I don't know, well, right now it's looking like we're taking on Vikings. Oh, that would actually be a juicy wild card game. But even if they win one game, I am very, very confident that there will be coaching changes. But then it's like, what if we go on a run? If Philadelphia somehow, now let me just put this out there, somehow wins gets 2 playoff wins. Say if Philadelphia gets into the championship game again. Very similar path to what we did last year. You might just have to say, whatever happens, man, it works. We play ugly football, but we can, like the Baltimore Ravens, pre-Lamar Jackson. They play ugly-ass football, but they constantly have a chance in the playoffs. And that's kind of like the purgatory we're getting into right now. But then you just have the whole side of like, if we do that, then no changes happen. It's going to be same old, same old. How many times are we going to just stick with what's not working and justify it by saying, well, we still find a way to make the playoffs? But the ultimate underlying fact, the way I'm going to end this video, is that the only reason why I'm cheering for the Philadelphia Eagles to win is because Philly makes the playoffs. It means Dallas doesn't make the playoffs. And at its core, as a Philadelphia Eagle football fan, that is always the most important thing, is that if Philly's not making the playoffs, Dallas better not be the team that I have to sit and watch on Sundays in January and February. So that's pretty much the underlying fact, is that, I, like you, kind of see, the somber fact that if Philadelphia kind of loses out, we're going to get rid of the coaching staff. We're going to make all these big changes. Are we going to look at Ron Rivera or something like that if he doesn't get a head coaching gig? Who are we going to bring in to be a QB coach? Who are we going to bring in to help CaRsOn WeNtZ get back to where he was? That's exciting. But at the end of the day, if that happens, we're going to have to watch Dallas Cowboys. Still, even if they go 1-and-done, it's still Dallas going to the playoffs. So Philly over Dallas in the playoffs, that's what we can always just, I think, come back to at its core and say, yeah, we got to back the Eagles, if not just to despite the Dallas Cowboys. So that is the video, guys. Thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm sure we'll always be right on that red button to go off next week when we talk about that Eagles-Redskins game. But until then, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.